I'm Thomas Dunn. I'm the co-host of this event, which is put on jointly by my Institute of Peace Studies and Global Philosophy, which was set up in London way back in the time of the first Gulf War, 1991. It's an academic body that deals with research into peace and resolution, mediation. And then we're also teaming up with the World Intellectual Forum, which is a body of thinkers, jnana yogis, really, who are concerned with the way intellectuals can make a difference to the world in terms of peace and sustainability, and including women's issues. I mean, half the world, the women, they ought to be coming forward and occupying equal place in all forums. And most people speaking, well, all people speaking today are going to be women, and that's why we've done it deliberately, obviously. And it's a great honor to be your host. That's why I'm wearing the hat of Apollo. Apollo was called the Musicates, the leader of the muses. So I'm doing my Apollo thing because I'm also a druid as well as an academic. And druids are devotees of Apollo, the god of beauty, music, prophecy, and healing. So that's why. Okay, so right, so we have a bunch of very interesting speakers. I'd like to ask Mr. Siddhartha, who's co-hosting this with me, if he can hear me, to just say a few words of welcome to everyone. He's organized everything from India. So Dr. Siddhartha, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Namaste, all of you. It's an honor. It's an honor for me that Dr. Thomas Pand has called me for the purpose of organizing it. And it's I'm going to call it an auspicious occasion of International Women's Day. That way, I'm representing Transbrum, and I'm representing working for empowerment. That also includes we, that is women empowerment as well. Now, Transbrum is a think tank that goes on to aid the government, that goes on to aid the people and policy makers in policy making. While working for empowerment is going to be all about how is it that the best half of the population, the second half of the population, can be empowered to take the emerging economies from the whole of the world, particularly the gig economy that it offers. Now, this is an opportunity to showcase some of the most unusual experiences that most of these speakers go on to be having it. They belong to intellectual capability, they're going to belong to travelers category, they are spiritual as well, they are meditation experts as well. Some of them have not been able to make it and they have shared their videos as well. We're going to play that and we're going to let you know that. So that is what I have to say. I welcome all of you people in this case and over to Dr. Thomas Pand.
Right, thank you, Dr. Siddhartha. So, okay, well, our first speaker is joining us, I think, from Argentina, Aleli, Peiro, and I'm looking forward to your comments. And you're going to be speaking about women as travelers and explorers, which is also very important. Many great British and European and international travelers have been women. So thank you for coming and joining us. Over to you.
Good morning from Argentina. Good afternoon in India and United States. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you very much to Transbrum and Women Empowerment Forum for invite me. And thank you to you, Thomas and Siddhartha and Priti for the organization. My experience empowering women has been through yoga, literature, and a mentoring program to start new business, or women to start new business. I'm teaching yoga. I have been teaching yoga in Argentina for over 10 years. And the last year I traveled to India for a government of India granted me a scholarship. And I stay in Bangalore, in the university in Bangalore. It's wonderful experience. Bueno, my topic is very interesting. It's about traveling and exploring. I think travel is very powerful tool to empower women. You can travel to a country and see the Taj Mahal, for example, it's so beautiful. You can see the Paris Tower. You can see the Inca ruin of Machu Picchu, or you can see Argentina, that's a beautiful country, and you see, for example, National Park, or the glacier, Perito Moreno, the glacier. but you can see also the heart of the country. That is very interesting and very powerful. For example, you can see, a woman and you can see only the body and your muscle, and you can see the heart. I think the most important thing is know the people and learn the culture, and learn, like you say before, Thomas, the philosophy, because the philosophy is learn to live. And that is very important. I love India. I love before I know it, because I'm in Argentina. Yoga is very powerful. Also, I use it, a very powerful tool to empower women. In travel, our topics, travel give the woman self-confidence. And women with self-confidence have more awareness for skill, develop her talent, power is amazing. I think today is the Day International of Women. It's important to see that woman is equal like a man. It's not worse, not better, just equal. Like today, Thomas, Siddhartha are man, I am woman, but we work together in this, not us versus them. It's just equal. That is very important in this topic. And you can also travel in a trip, and it's very powerful because you beyond in knowing land, and you make a scare, but you face it, and you learn many things about other countries, religion, culture, food, the philosophy of the people. But also you can travel, I am a writer also, you can travel with your imagination. You travel through books. For example, I write in my last trip in India, inspired the infinite in a sound. And it's very powerful because you read it and you understand the Indian philosophy, but understand woman also, because the main character is Amber. And Amber traveled to India through a scholarship and digging into her fears, digging in the midst of certain things that women can or cannot do. And it's very powerful. In my last novel, it's in my sixth novel. In my last novel, in Spanish you say de la voz de la libertad, in English, the voice of freedom, is about the life of San Martin. San Martin was one of the most remarkable heroes in our independence in 19th century. You know about that. And in this book, not only talk the man, San Martin, but the woman, that the co-characters that not seamstress or lovers or spy, like some author present. I write about her, just they were. Like Josefa Morales de los Ríos, strategic politics, or warrior fighting the independence, like María Remedio del Valle or Juana Usurduy, and present the woman just they were. And this is very powerful things, I think. And you can, I say that you can travel and not only meet the body, meet the heart. In the infinite and sound, for example, I say about India peoples. They know that there is no tree that the wind has not shaken. They stand firm in the face of the adversity. That each one has what he needs without turning off the material. In ancient and sacred books, they have learned that nothing is impermeable, and lights looking for lights. Everyone is everywhere. Everything is all the things. The sun is all the star, and each star is all the stars and the sun. They accept their karma, the law, the government, their lives, and their life is many lives. Their lives is many life. That's an example of you can see only the Taj Mahal and you see the spiritual in India that is amazing, her ancient philosophy, and that's very important today that the man is not, or the woman is not an island, it's a part of the whole. All is one. Yoga means this, all is one. And when I started my scholarship in India, I shared this experience with people of 20 countries, different countries of the world. That was amazing experience. And I appreciate that all are human and all deserve the same rights. In Argentina, we make enormous progress in this issue, women empowerment and women rights. But we still a long way to go. We have a Ministry of Women with places that women can report cases of abuse, but still the CEO and the world leader are men. Still we can have a backseat in boardrooms, and it's important that change it. And I must say that information and knowledge is not the same. Information you can Google, but for knowledge you may read book or like this, share experience. My experience empowering women traveling is also yoga trekking. I create that and appear in all the newspapers of the world because nobody here make this yoga and trekking, because I am a trekking guy also and yoga teacher. And it's very powerful this because you clean mountains and find the meaning of the life, and you cross rivers, and you make contact with nature, with earth, with fires, and in the city we forget that we have a sacred nature, and we in yoga trekking we rediscover this, no, the sacred natures. We are all one, and we are all nature. Thomas, what do you think about this?
Well, I think your talk has been brilliant. I'm sure you could tell us a lot more. People can ask you questions in chat. We're not going to have questions at the end of each speaker. At the end of the whole thing, we'll have some discussion. But I think what you're doing is amazing. It's epic. And I've met an Argentine intellectual at a peace conference, and we had a long talk about the Malvinas, the Falklands, and who's right and who's wrong. If we had time, we could go into that.
The Malvinas are Argentinas.
Yeah, well,
that is important. Huh? Respect the land of others.
No, I think
that
I'm so annoyed.
Respect the woman and respect the land of other people. That is important.
Well, we won't go into that, but maybe we can have a private chat sometime about this, and you can tell me what the latest is in Argentina about this thinking, because it's a conflict we need to resolve. And I'm interested in the role of women as peacemakers. You know, you have a very important role. Men make the wars. Women need to make the peace, and we're going to hear some talks about that. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this time.
Brilliant. Okay, so Dr. Siddhartha, can you tell us what the next speaker is? Is this going to be a video? It's supposed to be Vandana Sharma.
Yes. I mean, we're going to be playing a video after this next one that is getting uploaded so that I can go to share that with you, right?
Okay, so you want to postpone that and we'll have Kanu Megha speak next then, okay?
Yes, that's right.
Right, Kanu, are you there? Can you hear me okay? I think we're going to put you on next, if that's okay, to talk about women and science in India. Greetings, Kanu. You'll need to unmute. So let me just introduce Kanu. Megha is speaking from Dubai. She's a neuroscientist, and she joined us at the last World Intellectual Forum meeting on Sanatan Dharma, and she's a very brilliant young scientist. And now her topic is women and the scientific temper of Indian history. So it's a big task you have ahead of you. Welcome.
Thank you, Professor Thomas, for giving such a nice introduction. And first, I would like to wish everyone out there a very happy International Women's Day. And I would like to say thanks to Siddhartha sir and Professor Thomas for giving me this opportunity to present my thoughts on this forum. So I will start sharing my screen. And yeah, so my today's talk is Women and Scientific Temper in Indian History. So, Professor Thomas, I hope it's visible. The screen is visible.
Hang on, I have to make it that you can share that. Just 1 second. I think now you can share it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I hope the screen is visible to you all.
Yes, we can see it now.
Yeah, so my today's topic is Women and Scientific Temper in Indian History. So now the word scientific temper, first we need to understand what is scientific temper. So the word scientific temper is exclusively Indian in its origin. Scientific temper is a way of looking and it's a way of living life, basically. It is the kind of a rational thinking which we live with. So it is defined as the way of looking and processing information supported by the rational process of fact-based reasoning. So this may include, scientific temper may include your questioning in your day-to-day life, observing physical reality, testing, hypothesizing, analyzing, and communicating. So these are the important factors which scientific temper may include. So scientific temper may not necessarily restricted to people who are involved in science. So this is a kind of a rational approach which we apply in day-to-day life. So scientific temper, it is basically an attitude which involves the application of logic. So now with this, it is clear that scientific temper is not something which is restricted only to the scientific community. It is something which can be, even a non-scientific person can have a scientific temper by his or her way of rational approach towards things. So scientific temper, as I already discussed, it is very exclusively Indian in nature because Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he was the first one who discussed scientific temper as the term in his book, Discovery of India in 1946. So it is the way of thinking, a way to break the hold of superstitions by applying rationality and thought. So we all know that the religions are basically founded on some preconceived notions. So scientific temper is the way of thinking which will break those superstitions by thinking rationally and thinking in a more practical way. So the term scientific is completely Indian, formulated by Jawaharlal Nehru in his book, The Discovery of India, 1946. He says that scientific temper is the refusal to accept anything without testing and trial. So whatever we have been believing, the preconceived notion from generation to generation, we need to refuse those beliefs and by continuous testing. It is the capacity to change previous conclusions in the face of new evidence, the reliance on observed fact and not on the preconceived theory. So that is defined as a scientific temper by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So now, as we all know, the very well-known theory of Charles Darwin, the natural selection, the theory of natural selection. So Charles Darwin said in his theory of natural selection, freedom of thought is best promoted by gradual illumination of men's mind, which follows the advance of science. So according to Charles Darwin, who gave a theory of natural selection, we humans evolve by evolving our minds. So it is not like evolution only takes place, evolution only happens physically. It also happens when we evolve our mind, when we change our mindset. So that is also kind of a evolution. So that is how we develop the scientific temper in our life. The Karl Marx also said, religion is the sigh of oppressed creature the heart of heartless word and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. The abolition of religion as the illusionary happiness of the people is the demand for the real happiness. So he means to say that the religion is basically founded on some beliefs which are not proved scientifically. So to call on them to give up the illusions about their condition is to call on them that requires illusions. So by quoting these two statements from Darwin and the Karl Marx, I want to say that the idea of scientific temper generated even much before when the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru quoted in his book. So it was a very old concept, which even Darwin and the Karl Marx also quoted in their theories. So Article 51H in Constitution of India also says, it shall be the duty of every citizen to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. So we must think, question, analyze, and then communicate before accepting any belief or preconceived notion. So that is very important. So even our prime ministers, other than Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi also says that he believes that the well-being of common man is vested in the scientific temper. So scientific temper has been focused by our great leaders of India. So he says, society in which scientific temper increases, its strength develops equally fast. So it is very important to develop scientific temper in our attitudes. Now, I'll come to my main topic, which is that women in the scientific temper. So as I already discussed, that scientific temper is not only restricted to people in science, but I will take up first examples of women who have contributed in the area of science. So the first example is the Anandi Bai Gopal Rao Joshi. She was the very first Indian woman physician. She completed her medicine from Philadelphia. She got inspired to do the medicine from her own personal life, because she was married at a very early age and she gave birth to a child who soon died after the birth. So this inspired her to pursue career in medicine. So she pursued the career in around 1870. During that time, women were not promoted to go out and pursue their dreams. So that was a very challenging situation at that time. So the next example is Janki Ammal. She was the first Indian scientist to have received the Padma Shri Award, which is a very high civilian award in our country. She went on to occupy the reputed post of Director General of the Botany Survey of India. She pursued her scientific research in cytogenetics. So these women are the epitome of the scientific temper attitude in our Indian history. So the next example I would like to go with is, next example is Kamala Sohni. She was the very first woman to have bagged a PhD degree in the scientific discipline. Now you can see that in the 1912, she was born, and during that time, having the doctoral degree was, very difficult, because at that time, women were not considered as to have gone in the discipline of science. So she was the very first woman who have bagged a PhD degree, and she was the first female student of Professor C.V. Raman, the Nobel laureate for the Raman effect. So she discovered that every cell of plant contained the enzyme which is known as cytochrome C, which was the very significant discovery till today even. So the next example is Rajeshwari Chatterjee, who was the first woman engineer from the state of Karnataka. Rajeshwari received a government scholarship to study abroad in 1946. She did pioneering work on the microwave engineering. So these are the examples of women in history who had the scientific temper, they had the courage to pursue their dream, and they had the ability to question, analyze, think in a rational way during that time. So now Kalpana Chawla. So Kalpana Chawla is like, she was an Indian origin astronaut. She went to the space. But during her journey to the space shuttle from Columbia, she met a tragic end when the shuttle disintegrated while returning into the Earth's atmosphere. So she was a well-known astronaut of Indian origin. Next example is Dr. Indira Hinduja. She is a pioneer. She made pioneering work in the gamete intrafallopian transfer technique, which is also very well known as the gift technique, which resulted in the birth of first gift baby on January 4, 1998. Next one is the Dr. Aditi Pand. She is a successful oceanographer. She did a very courageous work. She was the very first woman to visit Antarctica in such extreme conditions in 1983 as a part of Indian expedition to study geology and oceanography. So, and next is Tessie Thomas. So she's very well known as Missile Lady of India, and she executed various successful missions like the launch of Agni series of missiles. She was the project director of Agni 4 and Agni 5 missile for the Defense Research Development Organization, and she's the first Indian woman to have headed a missile project. So this is really commendable that women, like these in our history, they have contributed a lot in the society. So now, till now, these are the women who have contributed in science and had a scientific temper. Now, I would like to give examples of some women who did not pursue their career in science, who were not from the scientific community, but still they had some scientific temper, and with that scientific temper, they achieved a lot and contributed a lot to the society. The first example is Ahilyabai Holkar, who is very well known as the Queen of Malwa, Indore. Ahilyabai Holkar became the Queen of Malwa. Her reign lasted for 30 years and she ruled with utmost compassion. And it is usually said that she is often called as a philosopher queen. And she's also called as the absolute ideal ruler. So this is really commendable. The second example is Aruna Asaf Ali. She's a very well-known freedom fighter. She was an acting freedom fighter who came into prominence during the Quit India movement in 1942. And she became the third female recipient of Bharat Ratna Award. But unfortunately, she received it posthumously in 1997 after she died. The next example is Justice Anna Chandi, first female High Court judge after the independence in 1948. She became a district court judge after serving 11 years at that position. In 1959, she was promoted to High Court in Kerala. So, and next example is Lakshmi Bai, very well known. She's well known with the name of Rani of Jhansi. She was a freedom fighter. She formed a volunteer army consisting not just of men, even at that time in that century, but also of women. So that with that scientific temper, that kind of courage and determination, grit, she fought for the Indian independence. The fifth one is Mother Teresa. She's very well known throughout the globe. She was the founder of Missionaries of Charity. She was the very first woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. She dedicated her whole life to working for the poor people of India. And she tirelessly, relentlessly worked for the poor people, and she's frequently featured on any list of women who changed the world. So these are the examples of women who were not from the scientific background, but still they had the scientific temper and they led their life in a very rational and rational manner. Yeah. So, yes. So with this, I would like to wind up my talk. I would like to just quote a shloka from Sanskrit, which says, Dash putra sama kanya, dash putran pravardhanam, yat phalam labhate, martaset labhyam, kanya kanya. Which means one daughter is equal to 10 sons. Whatever fruit a person attains by upbringing 10 sons, the same kind of results one can attain by begetting a single daughter alone. So this doesn't mean that this is not to question the abilities of men here, but this shloka means that the woman has immense potential if a woman is nurtured, invested with energy, resources in a proper manner, so that women can do really wonders. So this shloka is just to reveal the potential, just to show the potential, how much potential a woman holds. So this is just to explain that. So there are two famous quotes. One quote is from the Sally Ride. She said, "I didn't succumb to the stereotype that science wasn't for girls." So as we have seen in the history, women history, in Indian history, pursuing science was not easy for women. So, but Sally Ride said, if I would have thought that it is a stereotyping that science is not made for girls, I would not have pursued my career in science. So she wasn't stopped by that stereotype thought. Marie Curie said, you cannot hope to build a better world without improving the individuals. So in nutshell, I want to say it is we as the individuals, individually, we have to think and we have to develop the scientific temper in our life, so that we can live life in a better way and develop the society, a harmonious and a peaceful society. So yeah, with this, I would like to finish my talk, and yes.
Thank you so much. That was very inspiring. I'm sure many people enjoyed that. I'd love to see women also using their incredible intellect and scientific temper for peace, not just for building missiles and the military. And that's a big topic we might go into later. Should women prove their intelligence by being better at militarism than men? Discuss, I have some question marks about that. And we have a talk later from an academic talking about non-killing and the role of women in advancing that. So, but your talk was brilliant, and I love Neuro. I've been to his house in Delhi. It's now, I'm a great fan of Nehru's. He was a genius, and we miss him, So thanks for reminding us about his. I didn't know that he coined this phrase, scientific temper. That's very.
Yeah, Professor Thomas. So I would like to say only that the scientific temper, it is the temper, scientific temper, which makes us something different from others. So, like, we have been believing the preconceived notions of the religion, right? So these religions are basically only on they are just only the conceived notions which have been propagated from generation to generation. But in order to in order to develop a rational thinking, we need to disprove them, right? So because they are not scientifically proved. So my idea is to just tell the scientific temper makes you to make more rational, make more logical, think more logically, and in that way you can contribute a lot to the society by having a rational thinking.
Thank you. No, that point was very well taken. I'm so tempted to say that it's also possible to be scientific about spirituality. In my own research, my own studies, I've proposed a way of scientific rationality to spiritual and philosophical discourse. So, that's another move. Obviously, there wasn't time to go into that in your talk, but I think we have to apply the scientific temper to discussions of religions and try and understand them from within. And that is possible, I assure you. You'll have to read my PhD thesis. Okay, now we need to move on. We're having a talk, I believe, by video. We're going to hear from, I think, Dr. Siddhartha. Can you explain the video? Are you going to play it on your laptop here? We have a speaker. Sorry, you need to unmute, Dr. Siddhartha.
I say that there's a small technical aspect. I have called my technician to fix it, how exactly that we can go to play it. And that will be, I have set this part. From 7, Dr. Mukherjee, 7:15 is going to be Vandana Sharma, and from 7:15 it will be 7:30 it will be Rani Lin. That's the way that I have set it. So if we can go to have some other esteemed speakers, like we have Katyayani Singh here, we do going to be having Helena Lorenzo, any one of them who can go to be a part of it. Right?
We'll wait for the video and it'll come. I'm sure you'll get that together. Is Dr. Mukherjee here, Dr. S. Mukherjee?
Yes, I said I have given you a message that is from 7 o'clock. She will be available from 7 o'clock.
Okay, so she's not here yet either. Okay, so it's Helena Lorenzo is next in the running order. Helena, I hope you can unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear from Monaco. So
Okay.
Helena is very active in spirituality, but also the scientific study of diplomacy. She's training with the United Nations at the moment and has been involved with the World Intellectual Forum and many other peace groups. So It's an honor to have you here, Helena. Go for it.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here and hear all of your experiences and knowledge. Thank you. So I really want to talk about, everyone is always focusing on going on the outside and finding a solution on the outside. But I think, and it has been proven scientifically, that we need to go inside and look at ourselves and train our mind and raise our consciousness ourselves. And there are so many techniques and there are so many organizations that can help us do that. And I found some research online, and this one is from the Transcendental Meditation Organization, where they have done projects where they have a lot of high-level meditators go into different areas or different cities. And one of the research projects was proved that they had a reduction of global terrorist activity of 72% during 3 different peace projects. Can you imagine like the cost this can save society if you can put meditators in there and you can actually change the terrorism happening in society? Another experiment was they had a drop in war deaths of 81% during the Zimbabwe Civil War and 71% drop in war death during the civil war in Lebanon when they sent in meditators there. They had increased international cooperation by 352% during a brief global peace project, according to the Conflict and Peace Data Bank statistics. So you can actually influence how we cooperate together by having meditators in different cities. I mean, this technique is so low cost and it has so many possibilities. It was also a 24% comparative drop in criminal trends in a 5-year study of 48 US cities. So they had people meditating in some cities and not meditating in other cities, and they compared the cities. And they also had a 4% improvement in composite quality of life index. And the index was composed of 8 variable factors, including crime rate, mortality rate, unemployment, and auto accident over a 3-month studied period. And it also have an influence on economic process and all these kind of things. And what is very interesting is, like you say, you look at the Goenka's organization with Vipassana, that is just really looking at, you don't have a mantra, you don't have anything, you're just observing yourself, you're observing your mind, you're observing the body. And they put people in, they started teaching in jails, and they have some incredible results, and very few of the people who did their 10-day course in jails reoffended. It's like, it's all there, it's all available for society, and still we are not using it, and we find other. I'm still wondering why these methods are not more used in society when there is such a possibility to use them. But of course, the thing with meditation is that people has to be willing to go inside themselves and look, and you have to do the work yourself, and no one else can do it for you. So it doesn't really help that someone comes and preaches from the outside if you're not willing to listen, you're not willing to do the work. And I think that can maybe be a lot of the problem we're facing today. Yeah, that's all I have to say today.
Well, Helena, thank you for your short but sweet words. We have a bit of time for discussion. What is there a specific role, do you think, for women in teaching meditation? Is it in many households, women, I know in India, they're the ones that keep the spirituality going. Gandhi's mother, for instance, in Mahatma Gandhi's upbringing, it's the mother that taught him about meditation and prayer and stuff. Do you think women have a special role for this in the family or in society?
Yeah, I think, Generally, I think the whole society has to change from this male-dominated, where we put values on all these physical things, and go more to the feminine, with love and care and compassion, and grow those aspects of society. And so I think, it starts with this feminine energy to change. And of course, the mother is the head of the family normally. So yes, I think it should come from the mother.
And what would you say if somebody said that, well, I mean, if you believe in reincarnation, I mean, you've been very much into Buddhism, so you must have a belief in reincarnation. Yoga's premised on it. Then do you think we're different genders over different lifetimes, or are we always the same gender? What's your view on that?
Well, if the ultimate reality is quantum physics, so we are not really here, and the gender is just a condition of our mind that we imagine to be in this moment, like a role we are playing. So what is gender? It's just the programming is just what we believe we are. It's not really reality, ultimately.
I interpret that to mean that we can change genders over different lifetimes. We can play different roles. We
can play different roles. The consciousness changes like this.
Yeah, so
you have to be careful what you create.
Well, I'm trying to create world peace. I think we all are here on this call. But no, I love your work. So thank you for sharing. That's very inspirational. So if there's any other questions for Helena, do put them in chat, or at the end hopefully we'll have time for discussion, and we can then share other thoughts. Right, so I think the videos aren't yet happening, so let's go to Katyayani Singh joining us from Bhopa. In fact, I might want to address this question of women in the science of militarism or peace.
Okay, so first of all, a very good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible.
We can hear you very well. Yes, greetings, Katyayani. Yes.
Okay.
You introduce yourself first.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Katyayani Singh, and I work as an assistant professor in political science at Jagran Lake City University, Bhopal. So my research basically involves the topic of non-killing and building of humanitarian approaches that affect one and all, including the women in the society. So basically we have been studying as to why a non-killing society is needed, and how and what are the methods that we can use to build a non-killing and a society that respects humanitarian values. So far we all know, and for that only we have gathered here, that is celebrating International Women's Day. It's celebrated all over the world. But it's not just about, though we are celebrating Women's Day, but yet we need to be aware of the fact that crimes against women has still not stopped. And there are different kind of practices, there are different kind of social evils which are continuing in the society even as we speak of today. Simply based on gender issues, there are crimes being committed against women, whether it is female feticide, whether it is female infanticide, or other form of crimes which simply involve some kind of physical abuse, verbal abuse, and to be more precise, I'll say that practices such as dowry, such as acid attacks, all these still are persisting in the society. And this somewhere indicates that currently we are living in a society which is very oppressive in nature. And this is particularly the reason why the status of women has declined. In the ancient that is basically I'm talking about the ancient Indian history. If we go back to that period, we'll find that such kind of position was, or such kind of status was not there for women. Women were equally capable in participating in educational activities, in all kind of scientific activities. Somewhere in the middle, something went wrong, which disturbed the whole balance of nature, and gradually the position of gradually the humanitarian values itself started to decline. And because of this, we see now that the position or the status of women has largely declined. And as we are speaking about the contribution of a great many women in society, from Marie Curie to Sarojini Naidu to Margaret Thatcher to Angela Merkel, we can still say that a large number of women are still being oppressed, are still living under some kind of fear. As I pondered about on the, basically since my work is related to non-killing, we have been studying as to what are the factors that are involved in intentional or direct form of killing. So we have studied or given more leverage to factors such as homicide and suicide factors. And even in our non-killing index, and even as per the report of the report of WHO, what they have claimed is that a great number of lives are being lost, including that of women, by suicide. It's not through war deaths or through homicides that people are dying. Rather, the factor of suicide is contributing to a great extent in taking up the lives of people, whether it is of men or whether it is of women. But still, till date, we are not doing anything about this. We are not start making any serious studies with regard to this subject. With regard to domestic violence and the number of women being killed, I have some statistical data, so I'll just share with you in just one line. According to the UN report, there are 137 women who are being killed by a member of their own family every day. And more often than not, the intimate partners or some family member is basically involved in killing the women. So this means that our own family members somewhere are not respecting or giving that status or position, that kind of respect which should be given. As a human being, everyone deserves some kind of respect, irrespective of their caste, class, gender, sex, or religion. But this is not happening. And whether it is any Western society or any kind of Eastern society, this is all happening because there are different kind of prejudices running all around. All this is basically culminating into different kind of violence and then finally leading to some form of intentional killings. So what we basically want to understand is why this is happening. What's the basic reason as to why the condition of women is deteriorating in the society. So one of the reasons which I can think of is probably because the societies have largely turned patriarchal. They are so much power dominated. They all want to, hold some kind of power. Power is not something which only the state leaders, the political leaders, it's not something only which they enjoy. Even the society knows the advantage of power, and when the society wants to hold the power with itself, it tries to push different kinds of practices, different kind of social customs by which they can maintain their standard, by which they can maintain their status. So when societies turn power hungry. Then in the name of honor protection, in the name of giving safety, providing safety for the woman, they come out with some oppressive methods. They say that we are doing it for the sake of protection of women. Even sometimes they go on to the extent of killing the women members of the family, because they believe that by doing so, they are actually saving the honor of the woman. So that kind of mindset has to be changed. Now, many people often confuse this with religion, that the religion practices, the religious theories say so. But I do not agree that in actuality the religious scriptures actually talk about it, because if you read the religious scriptures, the religious text properly, they are talking about equality of status of women and men. They are not giving any kind of preference. And it's just you can say something happened in the middle. I don't know what exactly happened, but probably it was some misinterpretation or some you can say some just for the sake of using power, because the force of religion, the use of religious is it's a great source of power. That's something by which masses can be controlled. And when something gives you so much of power, it also is going to provide you or give you a sense of corruption. You will start to enjoy that power so much so that you will want to exploit the other person or whosoever you are able to exploit. So for that reason, we need to understand that it's our interpretation basically that has probably disturbed the whole balance of nature. And the role of non-killing here is that we do not identify any kind of, we do not highlight any particular value except other than the respect for human life as a good human, as a good or as an idealistic value. For the non-killing school, for the non-killing ideology, we basically want to create a society that is from the smallest unit to the largest unit, from local to global, a society wherein there is not just absence of killings, but also the absence of threats to kill and the conditions that lead to different kind of killings. So in other words, we can say that non-killing stands against any kind of oppressive discrimination, whether it is against any race, caste, class, religion, or sex. So in this regard, we have tried to develop a non-killing index by which we aim to measure different forms of killing as well as the intensity of killings happening all around the world. So we have introduced the parameters of suicide, homicide, capital punishment, and war-related deaths. And as I stated previously also, that in our conclusion, we found that the factors that are actually causing harm to life, that are actually responsible for, you can say, for damaging human life is suicide and homicide, not war deaths. Wars are largely absent nowadays. Very few wars take place in minor places, and even their intensity is not as that much. But if you go to the through the suicide rate, it's just absolutely it's not believable. India happens to be one of those countries which is falling under the top 20 nations wherein suicide is occurring the largest. In the Asian countries, I think it's the top. It has basically topped the list. So this is basically denoting the fact that we are going through some societal crisis. And the problem is nobody is bothering about it, because suicide is often regarded as a factor relating to some mental problem, some mental disorder. But no, suicide has a lot to do with the environment the society has created for us, with what kind of people we are living all around. So with that aspect, we are trying to promote the ideology of non-killing, that killing someone else is not only, is not the only problem. Killing oneself is also one of the major problems. Sometimes you are not killing someone directly, but you provoke the person to such an extent that they are forced to take their own lives. Even with regard to the women's committing suicide in India, the statistical rate is quite high, though it has declined from 2000 to 2019 when when we tried to do a graphical study of it. But still, I would say in 2016 it was somewhere around 18, and as of 2019 it's gone up to 12. So slight decrease is noticeable, but still the rate is quite dangerous, and we actually need to do something about it. So my point is that when we are discussing the question of importance or significance of women in society, first we need to understand that we need to give protection to their life. Until and unless that is not happening, women will not be able to take care of the future, because when their own identity is being threatened, how do we expect them to nurture the world or to teach them something which they themselves do not know about? So that's basically my conclusion, that first we need to give a safe environment. We need to change the mindset of the people with regard to the opportunities being provided to women, and then we can talk about different things. So that's basically what the ideology of non-killing is starting with. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Katyayani, for your talk. I'm sure we could have listened to you much longer. Unfortunately, we only have time slots for a certain degree of detail. The question of suicide you mentioned. Yes, there is a lot of research in suicidology. And there's an organization in Britain called the Samaritans that works with that. And there are people trying to understand what causes. In Britain and the West, it's more young men, adolescent males, are more likely to commit suicide than women, in fact. So I don't know in India whether it's men or women are more frequent.
In India, it's both equal.
Okay. Well, you know, the whole planet is on a sort of suicide mission, it seems. And it's not surprising suicide bombing became the chosen means of terrorism. It's that
Yes.
Freud called it thanatos, the death instinct. And then there's the life instinct, which gives birth. And somehow we have to increase the life instinct in humans and decrease the death instinct, thanatos. That's the mystery.
Yes.
So I just want to tell the group that Katyayani and I are going to be co-teaching a course at a university on non-killing. And we're going to be looking specifically at political science and religions and how we can make sense of the epidemic of killing and get, you know, people back to thinking about non-killing. So that'll be an online course we're teaching from April, which is very exciting. So thanks for joining us here.
I have some questions if Dr. Katyayani will like to try to not answer it, but then get engaged in a small discussion. I had certain questions with respect to the concept of death in this case, because her topic is associated with killing. So can we engage you, Dr. Katyayani?
Yes, sure. If we have time.
Sure. We're still waiting for these famous videos. So whilst we're waiting, do ask a question, Dr. Siddhartha. Yeah.
As I have known, and I have known it through a good number of the scriptures, the concept of death is going to be completely different. That is, when you're going to be having certain type of wishes and you leave your body, that is death. And some of that's called as bodily death. I mean, in Hindi, if you can understand, that's called as sharirik mrityu. Now, when you're going to have a trust on someone and that goes on, the trust goes on to get breached, then that's called as of course, the death of character. Now, it's not completely translated into English, but you can understand it, charitrik mrityu, right? For example, dharma is not translated into religion, and that's the basic difference in the semantic exercise, and both of them are not the same. It's also like that is when you can go on to poison the minds of someone, when you can go insert certain type of wrong perception in someone, that's going to be called as a intellectual death. That is bodhik mrityu of sorts. And it can be moral death also, from if you can go to take it that way. So there are a good number of people who go on to die before they actually leave their body. So what exactly is in this context? Of course, you have talked about non-killing and other components. So what exactly will be the concept of a non-killing here? When you go on to kill someone bodily, is it that is the only form of killing? Can't you go to colonize the minds of someone, and that is equally amounting to killing? Can't you go on to trouble someone and maybe change the religion of that person forcibly? That is also some sort of a killing. What do you want to say on that count?
Okay, so basically, I just want to highlight that what you're talking about, like forcing someone to convert their religion, is a form of violence. Now, the problem comes here is that how do you identify that someone has converted their religion on their own, or whether they have been influenced into changing their religion? So over here, a matter of
only one point. Religion is only one point. That was only an analogy. I'm talking about moral death. I'm talking about intellectual death. I'm talking about character death. And for example, Rana Pratap never died, but then Akbar died. Rana Pratap never died at all. Akbar died. That is the basic difference. So we are going to be talking about, is it not that this is also some sort of a killing? And of course, religion is going to be one analogy, one small analogy. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sir, actually, we are talking about intentional killings. That is trying to harm someone, trying to take away the life of someone. Now, when you're talking about moral death, intellectual death, that's basically, I'd say not moral death, but that's a vacuum, because someone has been brainwashed into something, and this is something which you can, with the help of society, which we can bring it back. Life is not something which once taken away, you can bring it back. You can intellectually brainwash someone to believe something, and then after a period of time, you can change their mindset again by bringing them into some kind of discourse or discussion. So this is not something which has a damage that cannot be undone. While talking about killings, we are talking about human life. Once a human life has been taken away, there isn't any force on earth except God, and the role of that we do not know, neither we can analyze. There isn't any force which can bring it back. Whether it is the state going for capital punishment, whether it is the individuals committing suicide or homicide, once they have done the damage, it's done, and it cannot be ever undone. And the impact that it has on the other society members is that it creates a sense of fear in the minds of other people. So if there are, say for example, the instances of capital punishment are increasing, that is going to create a fear in the minds of the people against the state authorities. They'll be every time scared to speak out their mind against the political leaders, because they know that any particular time they can be sent to capital punishment. And once, what I'm saying is, once that is done for your lifetime. You cannot bring it back. With regard to other forms of violence, that's something still we can undo the damage. So this is again another point, is that you can measure the killings, that who is killed, who is not killed. we cannot measure the moral deaths, the intellectual death. That's something which is not mathematically or statistically possible. So we have to confine to a way by which we can systematically show that how damage is being done. And that's what non-killing advocates are doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Katyayani. I should just explain for those that aren't familiar with her center in Jagram Lake City University is inspired by the work of a critical scientist called Glenn Page, who invented the concept of the study academically and scientifically of non-killing. He was an American soldier in the Korean War who was fed up with the deaths and the killing business. And he specifically developed a science of non-killing studies, which Katyayani is now involved with. And it's an important subdivision, I would say, of peace studies. It's a technical branch of peace studies. But the question of moral death that Dr. Siddhartha raised, thank you for that. Yeah, that's a huge issue. That's more to do with my field of philosophy and ethics and morality. For instance, in the Gulag, mass killings of Russian prisoners or Chinese prisoners or in the concentration camps of Nazi Germany, they developed ways to kill the soul, or try to, as well as the body. But I know of Jewish intellectuals who survived the camps in Nazi Germany because they taught philosophy classes. They kept their minds alive. There's a famous rabbi who taught philosophy in one of the concentration camps. And he managed people to survive because it's the mind that has to stay alive for us to defeat this thanatos, this death instinct. But they're very important points. Now we're moving on to our next speaker, which is Suzanne. Okay, so we have Suzanne Raja, who's been waiting patiently from Canada. She got up very early. And then we'll hear from Dr. Mukherjee, who's, I think, also joined us. Suzanne, over to you. Tell us about your work empowering women and the work of Warrior Sage and now the Wisdom Keepers. Suzanne is doing very important work in Canada.
Hello there. Thomas, thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here for a variety of reasons, and I'll tell you about that. Happy Women's Day to all of you who are watching. And this is for men and women. This is for all of us. So I am really excited to be on this platform in India, of all places. I'll tell you why, one of the reasons I'm so excited. Well, I am from the west side of the world. So I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, and I am married to my husband who is from the east. So his family is Indian, and so there is a beautiful combination here, and it feels like full circle. And when I share with you my story, you'll understand why we've titled this The Peace Artist, Highest Form of Martial Art. So I'll back up a little bit more and share with you the company that my husband and myself, Satyan is my husband and myself, founded, is called Warrior Sage. Warrior Sage. And our company is founded on the principles of igniting passion, living freedom, embodying love, and arising together. And this is how we live. This is how we live our life. And this is what this is what I'm going to share with you today. So I have so much I want to share, and I'm hoping I can get it all into the time that we have, but I'll start here. I want to put on the view so that I can see you all. I'm just seeing myself. I want to be able to see everyone. All right, so I'm going to take a breath. So, peace artist. As women, we are peace artists. Why are we peace artists? Well, here's why. We have the capacity for attraction. We are an attractive force. And an attractive force is very powerful. We're very powerful because we draw attention. We have the capacity to draw attention to ourselves. Now we can do that in ways that are unconscious, or we can do that in ways that are conscious, to uplift humanity, to bring, to unleash peace into the world. Martial arts is a codified system and tradition of how to combat conflict, how to combat conflict. And that's a very masculine way of looking at things. It's not bad or good. It is the way of combating conflict. What I want to invite is the feminine art of attraction. And so we're combining, like warrior and sage, we're combining the masculine and the feminine aspects of life. And so what the feminine does is very interesting. We combine both and we create from this place. A peace artist is one who is skilled in a particular task. And us women, what we are feminine artists of peace, using our attraction force as we're being conscious in it. We're being conscious in the way that we attract. So what is conscious embodiment of attraction? I'm going to be sharing that with you. Why are we conscious embodiments of attraction? Because making peace does not work. Making peace does not work. I'll tell you more about that as well. How do we do this? I'm going to share with you as well. So much to share. I'm so excited. This is what the force of peace unlocks in me. Let me share with you just a little bit about my background. So, having married my beloved, who comes from a different background from myself, what I had to learn was how to be in a family that didn't necessarily agree with the way that I was brought up. Now, if you stop and you think to yourself, what else is going on in the world like this? Are there ways that people do not agree with others? How to come together in places where you feel like you're not accepted, you're not appreciated, you're not seen as equal. This is what is going on in the world. Gandhi said that to make a change, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. So I truly believe that making peace, saying that peace must happen, does not work, because you cannot just say it without living it in your life. It has to come down to, how are you living your life? And so in my life, I wasn't necessarily accepted right away because my culture is different. And this happens with us all. We look and we see something is different and we're nervous about it. We hold back from that place. And so what could I have done in my family? I could have fought it. I could have said, well, I'm going to make peace here. This has to happen. They have to accept me. Well, what is that going to cause? That's going to cause one of three things. It's going to cause them to say, okay, yes, we agree with you. We're going to come your way and we're going to combine and this is going to work because I said so. We all know that that doesn't work when you tell people to be a certain way. Or it's going to cause them to not listen, ignore me completely, which is possible. when you force and you say, this must happen, or what happens in the world today, you can cause them to be completely rebellious, resentment, refusal, or uprising when you force. So this is why making peace does not happen. What is the solution? You may ask yourself. Well, I'll share with you what happened with me. You see, a peace artist is one who lives their art. A peace artist is one who decides that love is the answer. And not just to say love is the answer, but to be love as the answer. So what did I do? Well, I used these 3 things. I want you to write these down. Invitation. Invitation versus force. An invitation from the place of love. Now, I had a mother-in-law. I have a mother-in-law. How many of you have mother-in-laws? How many of you out there know about mother-in-laws? Now it's called mother-in-law because it's like the law. You got, it's a court of law and there's somebody that's gonna lose. Well, if you force, someone's gonna lose. But what did I do? From the place of love, I realized that getting into relationship, like we all do in the world, the moment that we decide to come off of the hill and we get into relationship, we are now taking on the entire family. I, as someone that is coming into marriage with my partner, I'm not just marrying my partner, I am marrying his family. The moment you decide to come into relationship with anyone, you are marrying essentially that one and everyone in their vicinity. If you really want peace, if you really truly want peace. And so how did I work with my mother-in-law? Well, instead, I don't call her mother-in-law. I call her mother-in-love, because it's in love. She brought my beloved through her body. So I love her instantly. And that love translates into the heart of love. And then she feels that love. And so I invite her into love with me. So that's invitation. And that's how you become the artist of love and peace. You invite. And when my heart is full of love, my eyes will be full of love. I will look at her with love. And from that place, her eyes will open with love. It's a ripple effect. From the place of love, invitation. My heart opens, my body opens. Body meaning I soften, I relax. What do you do when someone is relaxed in their body? You want to be with them. You're inviting, opens the place of invitation. That's the art. The next piece is surrender. Now I use that word. That word is a dirty word in this world. Could be. You say surrender. I've worked this hard to get to the place that I'm at. I am not surrendering. Well, I'm not talking about putting up the white flag and saying that I am weak. Surrender from the place of strength. Surrender means relaxing the hold of control that you think you may have over another. We have no control over others. None at all, ever. The only thing you can control is how you respond to situations. And how you respond is to let go. Not to let go fully and say, I give up, but to hold in a relaxed way. It's to let go in a relaxed way and say, I cannot control this, but I can relax and allow peace to happen in my home. And home being your space, who you are, and how you are in the world. The world is your home. The world is our home. And when we see this and we feel this way, humanity becomes our family. Finally, expression. How can we be the force of attraction? By using our expression. Remember that our palette is love. As women, we have the capacity to attract with love. We have the capacity to attract with the expression of love. What is the expression of love when the intention is love? Well, it's happiness. It's joy. It's pleasure. Show that happiness. Show that joy. Show that pleasure of what peace looks like. Be the embodiment of that peace. And it's not going to be sitting down. It's going to be standing up and moving your body. Expressing your happiness, your joy of what peace could look like. By saying, I appreciate when we love each other. Say it, speak your gratitude. Talk about what you love. Show what you love. By telling others, tell them what I love about you is, the beauty I see in you is, what I trust about you is. Unleash happiness through your expression. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Ladies, gentlemen, let the Happy Women's Day be. Let Women's Day be the expression of the embodiment of peace every day. And that is how we become the peace artist. Blessings and love to you all. Namaste.
Well, bless you. Thank you so much, Suzanne. That was very inspirational. You're a brilliant speaker and a beautiful, loving presence. So thank you so much. Just a little footnote. I'm working on a book on religious mathematics. Some of you know this. And I've just finished a chapter on joyism. This is a word I've coined. It's the opposite of terrorism. As a philosopher of language, I'm aware we create our world through language. And this word, terrorism, has dominated the airspace for 100 years. We need to coin a counter word, which is joyism. And I think you've just contributed to the philosophy behind it. So thank you so much for that. Joy upon you. Right.